Hello and welcome to the Radio Scilly video news. Sign up to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Radio Scilly. 1,000 baby lobsters will be released into the island's waters by the National Lobster Hatchery in the first week of July. The Hell Bay Hotel on Briar is working with the charity and will use their boats to take the lobsters out. Hotel manager Philip Callan says they want to be part of it.
A few months ago I had this sort of idea that we'd like to do some work with the lobster hatchery in Padstow. And I was over on the mainland and an island marketing actually doing a Devon County show, and I popped off into Padstow, had a meeting with them, and we had a chat and agreed that we could perhaps do some work together. So ultimately we're going to do a release later this month of about 1,000 juveniles and put them into the big wide sea of Scilly. Yeah, it's been really exciting, something new. It's very exciting. Hell Bay recently bought chickens online, which has been great, so we have our own eggs, and that's quite good. And the lobster thing is a good thing. It's nice to give things back. It's nice to be involved with projects like this.
Scilly's MP has questioned whether the VAT increase set for the new year will impact on rural travellers and vulnerable families. He's asking the government to consider alternative ways of raising cash rather than hiking the purchase tax from 17.5% to 20%. If it's found that people in need end up worse off, Andrew George says he favours a greater tax on bankers. A clothing sale at the Five Islands School has helped the Sands Appeal, a bereavement charity that deals with parents who've lost kids at an early age. A group of mums and staff at the Five Islands School together lost 5 stone between 7 of their number, and now their clothing that's been too loose has gone on sale with a charity event that brought in around £150. In total, £500 has been made for the Sands Appeal. From the PTA, Helen Glenn says people feel very strongly about the good cause.
Large, Kerry, but some of us have gone down a couple of dress sizes, so we need a whole new wardrobe. So we thought we'd swap a few clothes around and add to our sponsored Slim Total and do it down at Carnguavel School, because we've got a bit of a captive market with parents coming to collect their children on a Friday afternoon, so we thought it would probably work quite well.
But anybody who wants to sell items, you can do that. You can use the sort of crowd that we're there.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll have a stock of clothing hung on rails, which Terry Ward's very kindly lent us, because everything looks better if it's hung up. All in different sizes, so you can go straight to the sizes that you need. And if you've got things that you can swap, you can come and pay 50p and swap it with something from our stall. Or you can buy something directly from the store. You don't have to swap something if you don't want to. And we're hoping to sort of sell things for sort of 50p and £1 each and raise a bit of money that way.
Now, you brought in over 300 quid with 7 of the 9. Have the others been weighed now?
Well, we're just waiting for 2 more to have weigh-in. I'm not quite sure what sponsorship money they've got, but at the moment we've got £371.50p on the website, which is just a brilliant result really from quite a small number of people. Yeah.
And does everybody feel better for it?
Definitely, definitely. I think everybody feels better for it, and they've all done it for the right reasons. So I think the fact that we were doing it for a good cause, and we could all support each other. We had a midpoint weigh-in, and that kind of made sure everybody kept on track, and it's gone really well. Yeah.
Teachers, pupils and staff from the Five Islands School have been to a barbecue to celebrate a charity effort by the construction company building the new school, Keir Weston. They've set off from Llanelli in West Wales to travel 500 miles to the Five Islands School using non-motorised transport to raise £10,000 for Sport Aid, the charity. But the staff engaged in the charity fundraising were unable to make the barbecue. They'd set off from Falmouth around 5 in the morning, but because of a lack of wind, their sea crossing meant they didn't turn up in time. Future provision for housing for our island's ageing population has been the focus of attention for a delegation of council staff and islanders. A group's been touring what are thought to be good examples of housing solutions for the elderly at Tewkesbury, Bristol and a highly commended development, Astor Court in Plymouth. A replacement for Park House is required. The delegation's been weighing up the challenges of mixing light care with acute needs. They've also been looking at the use of technology and telecare, which can be used to monitor residents and even provide reminders to carry out everyday tasks and functions, with messages beamed onto television screens or messages recorded and played on the telephone. Experts say it's important that any new homes provided in Scilly for the elderly are each fitted with their own door and are built with 2 bedrooms, so if needed a carer can be accommodated or friends and relatives can stay. There's also potential for on-site care, as in the Plymouth development. Aislinn Hick from the Town Hall tells Radio Scilly that a decision on shared spaces, like a central hub and restaurant, in any development could be discussed in a future conversation. No specific sites for development have been announced, but Radio Scilly understands that the current secondary school site at Carn Thomas is being considered. That site should be raised when the new school build is completed. There have also been suggestions within the community that Holgates Green, which was originally ring-fenced for housing when the hotel came down, could be evaluated. The authority will need to hold a SWOT analysis session, similar to that undertaken on the Five Islands new school building, to find the most suitable site. There's been a development in plans to rebuild the quay at Penzance to facilitate a new combined freight and passenger vessel to sail to and from the islands. The Secretary of State has upgraded the listing of Penzance's South Pier. English Heritage, the preservation body, recommended a change in status, and the building, which the Route Partnership and Cornwall Council plans to use as the site for the Route Partnership's terminal for passengers and freight, has been upgraded from Grade 2 to Grade 2 star. Objectors, the Friends of Penzance Harbour, say the listing notice says that the evolution of the pier is clearly visible in the fabric of the seaward side. They say it needs protecting, and it would be covered in concrete and infill if the terminal went ahead. The group was set up to oppose the plan and wants the Secretary of State to reject the listed building consent currently before him. But Mike Waters of the Penzance Chamber of Commerce tells Radio Scilly it's not necessarily a big problem, as the planning consent for the listed building that's currently being considered has to relate to its former status and not the upgraded status listing. The council says it's turned around the financial problems they were facing as an authority 3 years ago. You might remember Radio Scilly News reported on what some people were referring to as the potential for bankruptcy of the Town Hall in delivering its services. At the time, Director of Finance Peter Lawrence says that wasn't a term he recognised, but they would have to dip into their savings or reserves to continue to operate services at the level that was acceptable. Now, Peter says through heavily scrutinising budgets and making savings where possible, the council have managed to trim back expenditure and some savings have been made.
The Council in recent years has very much improved its budgeting processes, so we're not now in a position of setting a budget which shows that we are likely to draw heavily on reserves to support council tax. I've made it an absolute priority, and this is the third cycle of this for me, I've made it an absolute priority that we set a balanced budget each year. And that's what we've done. So we're not in a position, last year in terms of the accounts that I'm now talking about, we drew not at all on council tax, on reserves to support council tax, and we are not budgeted to do the same in 2010-11 either.
Peter says some islanders may have read the council's online accounts and feel the authority is in the reds to the tune of £800,000. That's not the case though, in fact they're £30,000 up. Peter says it's a paperwork issue that's causing confusion. The council's accounts show £6 million worth of pension liabilities. That's on an income of just over £3.5 million a year. Peter says that again is because the government is reviewing the ways in which figures are presented. It happens every 3 years, and he doesn't believe there's cause for concern at this juncture.